Well, hello to all of you from around the world. I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of SOULIVITY Today. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and we're broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio, as well as other select radio stations from across the globe. Listen, whether you're at home, driving, or even at work, we're always glad you're here with us because this is the place for real conversations that will empower you every single day. And today's show is no different. You know, if you asked any of my friends, what is one thing I would do all the time with my family, friends, and loved ones? Of course, the people who know me would say the answer would absolutely be travel. I, I love traveling. I love seeing the world around me. In fact, it's one of the credos that is part of the SOULIVITY platform, to travel and become more culturally aware of the people and places around our world so that we can become more connected. And isn't that a good thing? Well, we have the perfect person to share how we can go about it no matter what our budget is and the place we want to explore. You know, Gaia Mieren is a certified travel expert who leverages her first-hand travel industry experience to design personalized itineraries and facilitate seamless travel arrangements for her clients. She can also advise you with tailored travel that allows you to travel stress-free. And so it's my pleasure to welcome to SOULIVITY Today travel expert Gaia Mieren. Hi, Gaia. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to be here. And I am so excited to dive in to really talk about travel today. I'm just like you. I definitely use travel to get closer with my friends and family. And anyone who knows me knows I'm always on the go, as the name implies. So
Yeah, your travel expert experience and your website is called Gaia on the Go. So everybody, you can catch Gaia on the Go on Instagram and follow her and that kind of thing. I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking with Gaia specifically about some travel trends that she is seeing for the summer and upcoming fall season. Plus, she'll be sharing some great tips for travel at the end of the show. So again, I'm so excited. This is so great. Gaia, it seems like after the years of non-travel during the COVID pandemic, which officially ended on May 5th, 2023, I think people don't even know that it was that recent. People
yeah.
around the globe are now traveling frequently again. What trend have you seen during the summer about people's choice of travel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's spot on. We have definitely seen travel booming now more than ever. And one of the biggest trends that I have seen working with my clients specifically are that travelers are incredibly open-minded and they are open to making last-minute travel decisions.
Hmm.
So this year we're seeing so many travelers really kind of getting their summer plans together at the last second. And this is further backed up by some data provided by Skift, which showed that in March of this year, 51% of visitors to certain travel websites and travel apps actually hadn't yet decided on their destination or their departure date yet. So
Wow.
this really means that half of us who are, going on Google Flights, going on booking.com, we really don't even know where we're looking to go. We don't know when. And it really shows that a lot of people are willing to do their own research now as well, into seeing where they can afford to go, what is kind of appealing to them. And I've definitely seen this in my own work as well as a travel advisor. I would say the majority actually of travel requests I've received this year have been from travelers who are looking to book international trips within 6 weeks out. So this is
Wow.
definitely a huge change than what we've seen in past years, where once upon a time, maybe you had one big international trip planned for that year that you were already booking 6, 7, 8 months in advance. So it really goes to show people are open-minded. They are open to traveling last second. And there's so many tools that allow us to do so now.
It's funny that you're talking about this because um, I know me and Sasha have moved more and more and more to booking things not as far out as we used to. Like I
Hmm.
remember our first trip to Europe together, we were planning it like 4 or 5 months out, and that we were like waiting for the windows and best times to like book airline tickets and hotels and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And over the years, that time period has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And that now there's even trips that we'll book that, I mean, our trip to Panama, we booked like the month before. And so
Hmm. Yeah.
are there certain places that you see where people are going closer in that time period?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, especially with the rise of budget airlines, definitely any kind of interstate and remaining nationally travel it's really easy to book last minute, especially with the rise of remote work. People have so much more freedom to really decide their last minute plans on a whim.
Hmm.
And so, obviously for a lot of people who are working from home, being able to decide a destination of your choice is actually really accessible and appealing now. There's been a huge increase, obviously, of digital nomadism within the last few years. And as you had mentioned, a lot of the technology that we're using now has made it easier than ever to book last minute trips, find deals, and research destinations on the fly. This is also, made even more accessible by so many skilled travel agents who really make being able to travel at the last second so much more accessible for everybody.
Mm,
Um, Surprisingly enough, definitely international travel. I think once upon a time it was something that you did have to book like 6, 7 months in advance, especially starting to look at flights.
mhm,
Surprisingly enough, I've received so many inquiries of really last minute travel. By last minute, I mean I consider anything within like a month or 6 weeks pretty last minute, especially for international. And I will say actually that this trend is pretty surprising to me, just
mm,
because in the past we've always seen last minute travel really driven by travelers who are kind of on the hunt for a deal or who are on a budget looking for some sort of discount.
mhm,
And the travel landscape has changed really drastically since before the pandemic. So, last minute travel, it used to almost always promise to get a good deal or a discount on airfare or hotels. But we've actually seen that shift dramatically over the last few years.
mhm,
And so, with travel booming right now, it actually makes the most sense for budget travelers to probably book a little bit in advance. Like, I would suggest 4 to 6 months.
okay.
As I've seen, especially in Europe, there are countless and countless budget airlines, and they can be incredibly affordable. I myself have fallen victim. I've taken like €10 Ryanair flights. And the issue with that is months in advance, they are incredibly cheap and incredibly
Right.
affordable. But if you do wait until the last minute, you'll notice that the price does surge drastically due to demand. So that's with flights, it's with trains, it's starting to come as well with hotels and accommodations. So it's an interesting trend because people are more comfortable, I would say, booking last minute now, and there's a lot more resources to do so, but I don't necessarily think it's driven by that same desire to get a deal or a discount like it was in the past.
I've always wanted to ask this question of like a travel expert around this because I've seen it where I think a lot of times, specifically Americans, not necessarily people in Canada or Mexico, but Americans kind of transplant what they think about travel to other places, especially like Europe. They're in terms of like how things work, they're different, right? I mean, like you were just talking about, like if you book things further out in Europe, hotels, air flights, rail tickets, they all can be a lot cheaper. But
Yeah.
here it could be, it doesn't really work that way. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is true. And this is definitely a huge perk of working with a travel advisor as well, just because we will be able to make these kinds of recommendations on when to be
Hmm.
booking certain destinations. Obviously, another great perk is, you might come to me and decide that you say, "Hey, Gaia, I want to go to Mexico in February." The great thing is a lot of travel advisors can really help you explore new destinations, and maybe help you consider places that you hadn't considered in the past. So, I would say definitely the travel landscape, it looks different from the US to Europe, especially in the US. We don't have as many budget airlines, I would say, as Europe. And there are really an endless amount now in Europe, and they are coming up with all sorts of incredible kind of incentives and deals to get people traveling. So, for example, there is that what is it, Icelandic Air,
Hmm.
that actually allows you to do, or it encourages you to book layovers within Iceland, within Reykjavik, with like
Oh,
24
wow.
hours in the city. And so this is actually
Wow.
an incentive from the tourism department there, from the tourism office, that they want people to be booking their flight to Europe. Maybe you want to go to London, maybe you want to go to Italy, but you could get a 24-hour layover in Iceland. And it's really a way for them to increase this tourism in the area. They offer incredibly competitive and budget prices. So we're talking about round trip international flights starting at $300-400.
Oh, wow.
There's just like such an incredible, endless
That's
amount of options
cheap.
here. Yeah, and in that sense, like Europe, I would say usually when you do wait last minute to book, like the prices do surge. That's not totally the trend that we see in the US. And so it's
Mhm.
good to kind of stay informed on these trends, maybe consult an advisor that can help you understand when is the right time to book for where it is that you want to go.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I mean, folks, um, you know, $300 to London is dirt cheap. I mean, that's like, I mean, again, think about it this way. If you're flying somewhere and you're flying like from, if you're on the East Coast and you're flying from like New York to Pittsburgh or something like that, that can be a $300 ticket.
Oh
We're
yeah.
talking $300 from New York to London just with the layover in Reykjavik, but it's another adventure, right? I mean, you could stay in a hotel, you can see the city, and that kind of thing, and then that's another adventure that you can have. So thank you for that. This is great. This is really great. You know, appreciate that. Listen, everybody, listen. We're going to take a quick break. We've got more with Gaia and more with travel because I love it, and I know you guys probably love it too. She's going to talk about a trend where people are taking their work with them wherever they decide to go. You don't want to miss this. So stay right here on SOULIVITY Today. We'll be right back. SOULIVITY Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours.
Ready to embark on a wine-filled adventure? Book your luxury wine tour today with Old Vine Wine Tours and experience the unparalleled beauty and flavors of Sonoma, Napa, and Lake counties. Old Vine Wine Tours offers transportation for the most amazing experiences in the Sonoma Valley, Santa Rosa, Healdsburg, and all of Sonoma County, as well as the Napa Valley and Clear Lake wineries of Lake County. From boutique tastings to bridal party transportation, we have you covered. Go to Old Vine Wine Tours /Wine in the Weeds for more information. Don't forget to mention promo code SOULIVITY to get 10% off either a culture or wine tour. Book your adventure today.
6 years ago, when I started SOULIVITY, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
Hey there, we're back with more of Soulivity Today with our certified travel expert, Gaia Mieren, as she shares some travel trends she's seeing for the summer and upcoming travel season. So glad you're here with us. We're having so much fun because, we both love traveling. So this is,
Oh yeah,
this
I
is,
could
we'll
talk
be
about this
giggling and
all day.
laughing. Right. Guy, I was doing some research before our show today, and I found out that according to Pew Research Center, about 22 million people employed as adults are, in the US work from home all the time, and that this trend is only increasing. In fact, I found out that research is showing that more than 1 in 5 Americans will work remotely by 2025. That's an increase of like
Wow.
6%. And so, and this relates to something that you want everybody to know, and that with more and more people loving remote work, you're seeing an additional travel trend on the rise. What is that travel trend?
Yeah, absolutely. And this really goes back to what we were talking about of spontaneity and last minute booking. And I absolutely think that that is driven by one of the reasons being the popularity of remote work. And so there has been this term that has been coined in the last few years called digital nomadism, and this has really taken off. It's definitely not just solo travelers who are embracing this new lifestyle. And so, with the rise of remote work, people have more freedom to decide their plans on a whim. A lot of remote workers are wanting to kind of change up their office location and change up their view on a maybe even week to week basis. And with the trend of spontaneity, it's become even more accessible and appealing than before. And
Mhm.
so, just to clarify, digital nomads, they are people who travel frequently while working remotely and typically using technology to work. So these people are
Mm.
typically working fully online. And in fact, according to an interview that I had seen from Business Travel News Europe, they had actually seen that the number of digital nomads has grown exponentially in the last few years, and it has
Wow.
reached at least 40 million people worldwide. So
Wow.
it's growing so much. And in fact, they had even said that during the COVID-19 pandemic, so that's kind of between 2020, 2022, this number almost tripled. Of course, the whole world was in lockdown and many of us were working remote. And so, really coming out of that, we've seen a huge desire to want to continue to work remote and for the flexibility that it offers. In fact, I would even argue that the main appeal of this new lifestyle is really not just the ability to travel, it's
Mhm.
primarily linked with the flexibility that it offers. I'm sure many of our listeners can relate. Those who are working from home or prefer to work from home, I'm sure that they really love the flexibility that it offers of being able to kind of craft your day how you want it to. And the perk that it comes with for a lot of these digital nomads is that they are able to explore multiple locations. They can experience life in a new country as a local, while continuing their professional career, without having to put a pause necessarily into their professional job.
Right. 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 It's funny because um I don't think people really get that this is something that's actually like happening. I mean, you said 40 million people. That's a lot of people in the workforce across
Yeah.
the world, right, that are doing things. Especially people, probably there's a lot more nomads in maybe Europe. I guess that there is. But this is a real thing, and that it allows people to experience like different parts of the world and that kind of thing. Aren't there some countries that are actually putting forth initiatives to get people to come to their country from other places to work remotely?
Yes, there definitely are, and I was hoping to get into that as well,
Okay.
because I would say when you hear this term digital nomad, or you think of somebody who's traveling constantly, the first question you might have is, how can you afford to do that? How do you have the money to be traveling so frequently or so constantly? And, it's interestingly enough, contrary to popular belief of this being so expensive, I would say that actually frequently traveling between different countries, obviously depending which countries you choose, can
Mhm.
often be more affordable than settling into one place. And
Wow.
I would say that this is especially true for young professionals today who are facing, higher housing and rent costs. They are even more driven by this desire to work remotely and the flexibility that it offers.
Hmm.
And to your point, to your comment, we are also seeing more and more countries open up their borders, offer these digital nomad visas, which usually
Mm.
do come with huge tax advantages for these kinds of travelers who are
Wow.
seeking to live
Okay.
abroad. So not only is, housing maybe cheaper in certain European countries or wherever it is that you're seeking to go, but a lot of these countries are starting to have these digital nomad visas and offer tax advantages, really kind of sweetening the deal altogether. And it makes you realize it's really not as expensive as one would think. And I think it's important to note too that obviously not everyone who is working remotely is seeking to become a digital nomad, but that
Right.
is just kind of the overall trend that we're seeing with remote work
Right.
being so prevalent. More and more people are seeking to combine their work with travel, especially post pandemic. We've seen just a huge desire to kind of shift our focus away from maybe material things and search more for experiences, we know that, our landscape can kind of change on a whim. It can change at a given moment. And so we really are prioritizing these kinds of experiences. And so I would even, for example, I have friends who are starting to inquire for the first time with their companies and like questioning their work PTO policies. Some of them are learning that they can actually work remotely from abroad for like up to 3 months. And so there's definitely
Wow.
there's growing rise. I have other friends who are considering sabbaticals just to be able to take a year off and work. So I would say overall, if there's one thing that you take away is that this work from home dynamic is really empowering people to combine work with travel and with leisure and be able to explore new places while also maintaining their professional careers.
That is really hip. I have one friend that him and his wife, that's what they did. They lived in Seattle for many years, and they were like, we're not getting any younger, but we want to see the world, and we don't want to
Yeah.
like wait to just do a vacation. We really want to make this part of our life. And so they signed up to do they were both educators, and so they signed up to teach like English and other
Yeah.
things, and they would travel around the world teaching English to folks, and they've been everywhere. I mean, I think he's now in Nepal, teaching, and so
Wow.
when he wakes up in the morning, his scene is Mount Everest. He can see Mount Everest from his apartment.
Incredible.
And and so it's like, so the world is our oyster, and so thank you for that, because I want people to know that, listen, you can follow tradition and that kind of thing, and if it works for you, that works for you, but there's other possibilities and other opportunities that exist for all of us outside of the norm. And here's just one where, if you really want to see the world and you really want to see it, what your possibilities can be, here's a way to do it where you can do some research or even ask Gaia about the opportunities to do digital nomadism and see the world while you're working. And again, there's a lot of great benefits to it. So thanks for this. God, this is so good. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Listen, we're going to
Me
take
too.
another quick break. Yeah, I know. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, Guy's not finished. She's got another great trend that may seem a little counterintuitive when she tells you about it. And don't forget, she has some great travel tips that are coming up, so you don't want to miss that as well. So stay right here. Hi Hi there, this is Brian with SOULIVITY.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoy the Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
For more information about Aspire Academy by SOULIVITY, visit aspire.soulivity.com today.
Hey, we're back here with more on SOULIVITY today with certified travel expert Gaia Mieren as she shares some travel trends she's seeing for the summer and upcoming fall season. You know, Gaia, as I said in the opening, I love to travel, but this isn't the case for many people. In fact, a lot of research is telling us that three main reasons people don't travel are lack of understanding, fear, and finances. But Gaia, you are seeing a trend that's actually pushing back against all of these things, including people's fears. What's the last trend that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I definitely understand why travel is, it's an overwhelming landscape. I can understand a hesitation to be traveling, and that's where my job really comes in to be able to provide some ease and a stress less experience for travelers.
Mhm.
But yeah, contrary to what you are saying, and I know that we're talking about travel trends today, but I would say that one of the biggest travel trends is that travel itself is trending.
Yay!
There are, yay! Super excited for like obviously all of our listeners who I'm hoping are traveling a little more than usual. But I have seen some statistics that are actually showing that international tourism specifically is predicted to rise this year by 15%, which
Wow.
actually means the same statistic, it will exceed 2019 levels by 2%. So
Wow.
that means not only are we, not only has the travel industry recovered post pandemic, but it is really back and bigger than ever. People are so eager to make up for lost time and create new memories through travel. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and say this does not mean that you shouldn't take necessary health precautions when traveling. That should be a norm regardless. Especially when it comes to international travel, you want to make sure you're up to date on latest health advisories in your destination, whether you need vaccinations or COVID testing required before entry. But, travel really it's back and better than ever. I would say a lot of us can just see this by opening up our social media feeds. This
Right.
year in particular, we've seen a lot of what I've seen called on social media kind of the sneaky Europe trip. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm sure a lot of us have recently opened Facebook or Instagram and have seen friends or colleagues post a cheeky Aperol spritz photo by the beach or,
Oh,
their toes in the sand and tag south of France. So I've heard this term coined as a sneaky Europe trip because it really just shows that people are kind of going away on a whim. It's not a huge deal to travel internationally like it once was before. People are wanting to
Right.
keep it on the low.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what we were talking about before with spontaneity. And definitely, there's so many factors for this: the remote work, the technology that allows us to be able to do so. And even what we were talking about before, one of the huge reasons that international travel is trending specifically is just the flight cost for international travel. I think it's going down a lot than kind of what we've
Wow.
seen in the last years because of what all of these budget airlines. And so, interestingly enough, I actually was on a call with a client yesterday,
Hmm.
and she is just booked a last minute trip to London. She's going to London next month, and they're actually going to have a whole family reunion there. So she's going to meet her siblings and her parents in London
Wow.
because the
Oh,
flights
that's
to London
great.
actually cost less than if she were to fly from her city to the city where her parents live. And so, it's
Wow.
really insane, some of these things that we're seeing. There's also, another great example of this rise of travel is because of what's being called music tourism.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that we've all started to see this on our social media. There was a survey conducted recently by travel specialist Amadeus with the help of YouGov, and this found that 44% of the people in this survey have already traveled nationally or internationally to attend a concert by an artist that they liked. And I'm sure that we've seen this. It's true for a lot of major concerts like Taylor Swift or The Weeknd, that a lot of fans are choosing to attend events in other countries. This is
Hmm.
mostly to improve their chance of securing tickets because there is such a high demand for these concerts. But respondents of this same survey actually also had mentioned 70% of them had reported that a huge advantage for booking these concert tickets in another country is to be able to explore the surrounding area. So
Mm.
it's
Okay.
really like a huge plus. Not only are they getting maybe higher availability for these concert tickets, but they also get to explore a new area when they are going to this concert. And so, just the music and concerts in general, another huge thing that is driving travel, as I've seen this personally as well. So a few weeks ago, I attended a Coldplay concert in Rome, and they had held 4 dates in Rome. And when I was there, I was just surrounded by people from all over the world. I was hearing so many different languages. It definitely was not mostly Italians. And so people from all over had come to Rome just for the occasion. And then even that same week on social media, I was seeing lots of old colleagues and college friends from the US who were also in Rome that same weekend just to see Coldplay. So, you know,
Wow.
with this big demand for these huge artists, it's just another incentive to travel. And funny enough, going hand in hand with this, I even have a fellow colleague, travel advisor, her
Hmm.
whose entire business model is focused on planning travel almost exclusively for Taylor Swift fans. So she is not only able to stay in business, but she excels in her business by helping Swifties book hotels near the concert venue and then helping these travelers organize their itineraries to explore that new city that they're going to be in for this concert.
Wow. Amazing. It's funny because as you were talking, I was remembering I had saw something, I guess, on cable or something where a guy was talking about Taylor Swift, and they live in New York. They were trying to
Hmm.
get tickets to go see her in New York, and the tickets were so expensive that it was cheaper for him to pay for airfare for him, his daughter, and her friend to go to London and see her in London and then come back. And so
It's a perfect example of this.
so just saying, everybody, listen, again, the world is your oyster. So there's more ways to skin a cat, and this is like one great example of how travel can be, something that you can do affordably, right? I mean, and have even more of an adventure. So thank you for that, Gaia. Wow, that's great. That's great. So people need to go to GaiaOnTheGo.com today and find out more about what you're offering. Listen, you're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. But we're going to take a quick break because we've got some great tips from Gaia for those of us who are considering traveling during the last part of the summer into fall. So stay right here.
Would you like to be one of the first people to experience mental freedom? Mental freedom is a coaching practice with 6 core principles: improving hope, self-efficacy, optimism, resilience, and general well-being. Mental freedom only takes 6 sessions. It is designed to give you the tools you need to help yourself. It can help with any situation: relationship problems, past trauma, career decisions, parenting challenges, addiction, and mental health concerns. Incorporating the mental freedom framework into your life will deliver an approach to master any situation and a pathway toward achieving inner peace. Mental freedom provides the information and tools that you need to grow and be bigger than anything that ever happens to you. So if you're looking for one-on-one or a group coaching program that will allow you to address any situation that comes up in your life with practical tools to give you more peace and joy, then join the Mental Freedom Program in SOULivity's Aspire Academy. There are very limited spots available, so don't delay. I hope to see you there.
Sign up today at soulivity.com/Teresa Mental Freedom Today.
Hey, we're back here with more on SOULiVity Today with certified travel expert Gaia Mieren. Hey, Gaia, this has been so wonderful. I mean, I'm learning some things too. Like, I don't have to stay here in the United States if I want to go see my favorite artist. Now I can like call you, and you can make a referral, and we can like see my favorite artist. Like seeing Coldplay in Rome must have been exceptionally good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just another incentive, right? To see a new city and a new country and combine 2 things that you love, just like we were just talking about. Travel is a great way to make new memories, get closer with your loved ones, share new experiences. Just like I had mentioned, my friend who's doing, their family trip, annual family get together, really internationally this time, just because financially it makes more sense that way. So and
Wow.
and of course I get to make memories along the way, explore a new city. There's so many benefits to it.
Excellent. I'm going to have to look at that because we have our family reunion every year in September, and typically we come to Detroit. So maybe we'll have to see if it's cheaper going someplace else.
This place
So,
more exotic.
right? Listen, you've got some great tips for people who may be considering traveling during the last part of the summer into fall. I'm like ready to go. Got my pen, ready to write down all this stuff. What are some of the tips that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, I mean, kind of related to end of summer, early fall, we are seeing a huge shift in or off season travel. Definitely, it's becoming a lot more popular. Most people traditionally have sought out travel during peak seasons like summer and the holidays, but we definitely are starting to see a shift with that. And I think it makes a whole lot of sense. I'm definitely a huge proponent of off season travel. And, I think one of the huge reasons, at least for Europe, is that they are starting to experience kind of longer summers, warmer springs, and
Right.
warmer fall seasons. So this really makes this time period just as attractive for travel, or even more attractive for travel, with fewer crowds, fewer prices, and really more reasonable temperatures.
Right. Right.
Actually, a great example of this is where I live in Puglia in south of Italy. Historically, the beaches typically open June and close first week of September. But last year we had beach clubs opening as early May and staying open until mid-October. So, the weather was
Wow.
warm, the sea was a great temperature to swim. And so these beach clubs really extended their season and started to open up as soon as early May. So we are really just seeing the whole travel season, this kind of peak season, I would say, open up and shift, and a lot of people seeking to travel off season. And I will say, I'm going to provide some trips for sure for off season, but there are some pretty big benefits, I would say, to traveling off season. The main one being, just tourism levels are a little bit lower. There's less crowds, there's shorter lines, there's more availability all over the place, as well as temperatures are much, much more reasonable. And so, actually, interestingly enough, talking about seasonality, there was a really interesting interview done by a CNN traveler about seasonality, specifically in Thailand.
Oh,
So,
wow.
for those who don't know, in Thailand, typically low season spans from April to September,
Hmm.
and April and May in particular are known to be really, really hot. However, during this low season, the interviewee in this interview was explaining that the tourist volumes each month during this quote unquote off season actually constituted more than 7% of their annual take in, so of their annual making. So, in other words, there was no more off season in a place like
Wow.
Thailand. Um, there pretty much is no more off season there because people are so eager to go all year round. Temperatures are getting a little bit warmer and making it more accessible and easier to be able to travel in those off seasons. So that's just another little trend that we're seeing here for sure, and definitely
Okay.
takes us into our end of summer, early fall season is a great time to be planning travel. Like I said earlier, off or last minute travel is booming, so don't feel like you are too late to miss out on your European summer or your international trip of the year. There's definitely time for that. And
Excellent.
so, with all of that said, there's definitely some tips I would suggest for those who are considering off-season travel.
Okay.
The first one is, like we said before, be flexible, be spontaneous, be flexible with your dates and your destinations, and this flexibility will allow you to take advantage of all the best deals that are available.
Hmm.
I think it's also really important to try and book as many flexible options as you can. So,
Okay.
regarding hotels or flights and tours, and I would say, especially even during off season, especially if you're headed to a destination that might be known for rainy weather or storms. We
Hmm.
have seen so many travel complications due to weather and technology difficulties lately, especially this summer, that it's always good to make sure that you are booking refundable options, you are getting travel insurance for big trips, and this can all, keep you covered when these travel complications do arise.
Hmm. Hmm.
And let's see, additionally, I would say, related to this off-season weather, if you're not traveling in peak summer or peak winter, the weather might be very variable where you are headed. So it's definitely important to layer up, bring something that you can,
Right.
I always say, like, in off season, you dress like an onion. Um, have as many layers as you can and kind of be prepared for any weather changes. I know specifically in Italy, I had seen a lot of travelers online coming to Italy in April and May, which I think is still a great period, but they
Hmm.
unfortunately were hit with rain the entire time that they were here. And that
Right.
is, that's a very realistic occurrence with off-season travel. The weather might just be
Right.
a little bit more unpredictable, and so it's really important to take that into consideration.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then lastly, I would say it's also a great idea to be kind of researching local events and festivals that might be happening during that off-season period. These can
Okay.
definitely offer more unique cultural experiences that you might not find during peak season.
Hmm.
Um, Italy specifically has so many different religious festivities and cultural festivities happening all year round. That might take a little bit of extra research and planning, and
Right.
with the right travel advisor, I'm sure that they can help advise you on what's
Hmm.
going on. But definitely a good excuse, good excuse to take a off-season trip would be some sort of local, unique event that's happening that you can't typically find in peak season.
Wow. These are all great tips. I like it. I like it a lot, especially the one around how to dress, right? How to layer up. I know there's a trip that uh, Sasha and we went to Rome, and we went there right at the beginning of May. So again, it was one of those times where it was pseudo off peak.
Mhm.
Definitely you could tell that it wasn't as packed as it would normally be, like when it's like in the summer, but it did rain like a couple of times while we were there, and we didn't bring right gear. We brought like jackets, but we didn't bring, so we had to buy like light, like rainproof wind
Yeah,
blazers and stuff like that. So it's like, nah, we're not doing that again. So I like that. Dress like an onion. Dress like an onion, everybody. You know.
definitely don't
Um,
expect, European summer bikinis in your April to Rome.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, we got still got some time left. Um, let's talk about what you're doing with people specifically. Because with Gaia on the Go, you're a travel expert and a travel advisor, right? So you're like this party who kind of like looks at the landscape for people and say, okay, listen, I want to know what your experience is, right? I mean, you've done this with us recently on a trip that we're taking, where you're able to kind of look at these things and give us some options. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing at Gaia on the Go?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so happy to provide a little bit more insight on what it is like to work as a travel advisor and with a travel advisor like myself. So I always say that, my entire job is dedicated to helping my clients facilitate travel plans with as much ease as possible and offer a stress less experience.
Hmm.
I did mention early on that travel has become more easily accessible online, and it is easier to book your own travel. And I think it's great to have that option to be able to organize all of your travel plans by yourself. But with that said, there is so much saturation with travel out there that it can still
Yeah.
be incredibly overwhelming to plan and coordinate all of your travel details, all of your flights, knowing what time is the best time to flight and where, knowing where to book your hotel. Just because you see a good deal doesn't mean it's a great location. And there are
Yeah.
definitely plenty of scams out there and lots of fine line details to read through when you're booking on these online platforms.
Yeah.
And so I think that's definitely a huge perk that comes with working with a travel advisor, is because we already know what to expect when going through these booking processes. We allow you to be as prepared as possible before you travel, and prepare you with all sorts of expectations that you may have not had in the first place. My favorite part of being an advisor, I would say, is researching new destinations. And so,
Wow. Yeah.
it can take so much time to research and really get to know where you are visiting. For example, my mom had planned us a Costa Rica trip 2 or 3 years ago, and she had spent like 3 months before buying so many books online, doing all this research on herself, and she really wanted to do that kind of research. So I definitely applaud people who are willing to put in that work, and I get it, right? I get the desire to want to research those destinations. I am exactly the same way. But it's not so easy, especially going to a place that's outside of your comfort zone, a place that you're not so familiar with.
Yeah.
And so it's a great perk. Travel advisors are super well versed in an array of different destinations, and I often help my clients even discover new destinations and possibilities for their travel plans that they didn't know about previously. So we have an endless amount of resources of on the ground contacts and local experts that can allow me to personalize and tailor trips to my clients' liking. So, I would just say that if you're listening and you feel like you might benefit from some professional travel advice or planning, don't hesitate to reach out. Travel advisors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people can go to GaiaOnTheGo.com, which is your website, to learn more information about you and all the things that you're offering. Again, that's Gaia on the Go. It's all one word. .com. And you got some great pictures, and you already got some great tips that are there. You got your blog that's there as well. You just found some fantastic hotels for us for our trip, and we just gave you what we were kind of looking for just generally, and these are places that we haven't been before. But when we looked at what you were suggesting, it's hard for us to decide which hotels to book, because they're all amazing. They're all right in alignment with what we want. So again, everyone, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to know everything. It's why we're doing these shows on SOULIVITY Today, to kind of enlighten you and bring more information to you about, that traveling can be fun. You can drop the fear or make it less fearful. Because you have somebody who's in your corner, and not necessarily somebody who's just trying to book you a trip to make a buck, right? That you really
Absolutely.
have an honest broker in this. So, Gaia, thank you so much for doing this. Looking forward to our future shows together. Gaia's going to be coming back with us, everyone, to tell us more about travel trends and favorite places and top destinations and the whole nine. I cannot wait. I'm already giddy, already excited about our next show together. So, Gaia, thank you for being here.
Me too. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me. It's been so fun, and I can't wait to continue talking about travel in the future. And, I would just say, if our listeners could take one thing away from this episode, it's that it's definitely not too late to plan your summer vacation. Remember to be spontaneous, explore some new possibilities that you might have not thought of before. And we are just starting to head into off season, so definitely don't shy away from the opportunities that off season provides.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thanks for that. Listen, and thanks to all of you for joining us for SOULIVITY Today. We hope that you come back and join us for our next show on your radio station that you're listening to us on. Listen, on behalf of everybody here at SOULIVITY, this is Brian Wesley Johnson saying, keep on working your passion and purpose, everyone. And you're going to, of course, create your best life of high quality living today. Bye for now. This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.